Music, 90s attitude, and extreme sports. These were the ingredients chosen to create the perfect little game. But Sega accidentally added an extra ingredient to the concoction: Western influence. And thus, Grind Fiction was born. Grind Fiction, or Animemo, or Shibuya Punk. Nobody really knows what to call it. Grind Fiction, as we'll just call it for now, is a semi-obscure genre of pop culture that got started in the 2000s. Taking inspiration from a mix of Japanese and Western media at the time, I'd argue that it's one of the most stylish and important pieces of art that constantly gets underrepresented. But why exactly does it get such a strong reaction out of it? And how exactly does such a weird and interesting genre get started?
What we do here is go back. Jet Set Radio!
It's 1999 in Japan. Smilebit Games under Sega starts development on a small project with designs done by Ryuta Ueda. Influenced by 1990s pop culture, Ueda was especially impressed with PS1 rhythm game Parappa Rapper due to its popping colors and flat design. He also took influence from movies like Fight Club and street art from America. Development was done by Masayoshi Kikuchi. Overall, the team was very young, with everyone being roughly around 25 years old. The game wanted to do something deliberately different from previous titles they had to work on, such as the fantasy-inspired Panzer Dragoon saga. There was also a dose of influence from Sega's mascot, Sonic the Hedgehog. With the popping colors of Parappa and Sonic, and the graffiti designs from artists such as Eric Hayes and the counterculture themes of Western movies, they were able to create a unique mix of styles not done before. But how is this represented in the game? To really capture their vision, Smilebit created a brand new cell shading technique where significant objects on the screen, like your player character, would have a thick outline around them to make them pop. Couple that with Ueda's already striking characters, everything sticks out. The cel-shaded art and low-poly models really bring the 2D art to life in a way that an ultra-realistic aesthetic couldn't. Imagine Beat here in a PS3 gray-brown environment. He would look disgusting. What exactly do you even do in Jet Set Radio, though? Well, you play as a gang of Rudy kids called the GGs as they try to take control of all the districts of Tokyo To, while clashing with other gangs through graffiti and sick tricks. All the while avoiding the militarized police force as they try to literally kill you for being too cool. I'm talking attack helicopters and tear gas here. And it only gets worse when a group of assassins get involved later on. All that for some sick tricks and drawing dicks on a wall, man. Shit's wacky. Another major ingredient in the Grind Fiction recipe was the music. Jet Set Radio's OST was incredibly distinct for the time as it combined original and licensed tracks with incredibly varied genres, pulling from J-rock, hip-hop, funk, EDM, and some acid jazz. And in the North American release, a few metal songs were added, such as a remix version of Dragula by Rob Zombie and Colt's Just Got Moved. The main artists that produced music for the game were Richard Jocks and Hideki Naganuma. Naganuma especially was very apparent on the OST. Naganuma's style was very distinct, as he's constantly pulling samples from all sorts of places. For example, in the game's title track, Let Mom Sleep, has 16 different samples all on its own, from obscure radio plays such as the Radio Ham, to popular groups such as Prince and the New Power Generation. The reach is genuinely insane. You could do videos upon videos dissecting every single song. Jet Set Radio, also known as Jet Grind Radio in the Western release, hit stores in Japan on June 29th, 2000, and dropped in North America on October 30th the next year, to critical acclaim. Its unique art style shook the world and planted the seed for the genre, so of course it got a sequel. The sequel, known as Jet Set Radio Future, released in 2002 exclusively on the original Xbox console. It toyed around with having more of a focus on story and exploring the levels rather than the arcade gameplay of the original. Story-wise, it's a mild reboot of the original story where different playable characters were affiliated with other gangs. But overall, it's a slightly different take on the original game while expanding on its concepts. It didn't sell as well, and unlike the original, has never been ported to another console. Now that we understand the foundation of grind fiction, what's the best way to start experiencing it? Well, although I personally feel there is no best way to discover the genre, I feel like a lot of the biggest cornerstones of the genre come from video games, so let's take a look at those. A lot of grind fiction media, especially stuff that comes out nowadays, are from independent creators. But there was a point, not too long ago, where that wasn't really the case. For example, The World Ends With You was a 2007 action JRPG game from Square Enix. From the brilliant minds of Tatsuya Kondo, art by Tatsuya Nomura of Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts fame, and music by Takeru Ishimoto, it focuses on youth in Japan, particularly the character of Neku Sakuraba, as he falls into a weird afterlife dimension called the Reaper's Game, where he and his partner have 7 days to complete missions to come back to the world of the living while clashing with other groups and the ever-dangerous runners of the game, the Reapers. In the Reaper's Game, you are essentially dead with psychic powers that can be used in combat via different wearable pins. You even have some powers that can affect the real world based on imprinting thoughts into people's minds and indulging in rumors. The quite literally edgy art style of Nomura and the exaggerated characters just oozes that grind fiction sauce. The main characters all have a striking modern style that makes them stick out compared to other games from Squeenix. And the many different enemies look like graffiti that can be found on a mural. Ishimoto takes more of an influence from the J-rock and EDM side for the soundtrack while still having some hip-hop sprinkled about, creating a unique blend of music that really captures the 2000s urban Tokyo vibe that the game's going for. And most importantly, the vibes. The game's all about having Neku as a character grow out of his negative mindset through the trials and tribulations of the Reaper's Game. The game focuses on normal kids coming of age and finding themselves, which is a huge theme in grind fiction. In the 2000s Tokyo-style setting, using fictionalized versions of real locations, such as the 104 building and the Hachiko statue, really hits that urban fantasy. Throughout the game, you interact with all sorts of different people from different walks of life and get to see them grow along with the main cast. There's also an emphasis on fashion and shopping culture, as you can go into multiple different stores throughout the game and buy clothes or eat food to boost your different stats. Not to mention the game literally rewards you for going outside and broadening your horizons with passive EXP gain for your pins while the game's off. The World Ends With You and its 2021 sequel have been ported to modern consoles, mainly the Nintendo Switch. The DS original is by far the best way to enjoy the original game, due to the combat being made to take advantage of the DS capabilities and dual screens, but the final remix Switch port comes with new content exclusive to that version, so I personally recommend it. The sequel, Neo: The World Ends With You, is on PlayStation as well, and you don't necessarily have to play the first game, but trust me, you should. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise, it's super easy, just play them both. The game also got an anime adaptation in 2020, I guess. It has mixed reviews due to the odd pacing and not the best CGI, but it's alright. Just play the damn games. Another big grind fiction release I'd like to mention is a very recent indie release. Unbeatable, spelled in all caps or no caps, is a rhythm adventure game developed by D-Cell Games and directed by Andrew Tsai and RJ Lake. It was released last December. Wait to date your project, dude. And to be completely honest, best summarized by its full title line. Unbeatable, a game where music is illegal and you do crimes. The game itself is story-based and has the player coast along with the plot as we get to see the main character Beat and her band fight against the oppressive farm police force through the quite literal power of music. It plays functionally similar to games like Muse Dash, and it's very easy to pick up because it's usually only 4 buttons. Unbeatable's OST is mainly based on rock subgenres, but deviates into other genres throughout its runtime. Most of the tracks were made for the game specifically, creating an in-universe vibe. The game also has an arcade mode featuring other artists such as Jamie Page and 2Mello. Overall, Unbeatable is a grind fiction journey that personally surprised me with its rich characters and amazing presentation. I'm really fond of the way the characters are in 2D, while the world around them is in 3D. E-Cell really jam-packed the game with tons of content despite the short runtime of the campaign. And I feel like it's one of those games that's really good to come back to and re-experience every year or so. I especially recommend it to people in their 20s for no particular reason at all. Before I get to my final recommendation, I want to mention some other smaller pieces of grind fiction media to look into. Most of these I'm either not the most familiar with or haven't experienced yet at all, but they could just be something that interests you, so let's rapid fire some. Air Gear is a 2002 manga written and illustrated by Japanese artist Oh Great. It revolves around a middle school boy named Icky and his friends as they form an extreme inline skating gang, battling to be the best and crown themselves at the top of the Trophium Tower. The manga got an anime adaptation in 2006, and has a few tracks from Naganuma during his funky uncle phase. Gachiakata is a modern series written by Kei Arana in 2022. It takes place in a dystopian world with a strict class system where the rich and powerful live in the floating sphere. The people at the very bottom of the social system live in the giant pit below, surrounded by garbage tossed out by the sphere folk. Rudo is convicted of a crime he didn't commit and is tossed out with the garbage into the pit, swearing revenge on those who wronged him. Gachiakata is notable due to its very unique characters and concept. It's currently being adapted by Studio Bones, the same studio that bring us adaptations of My Hero Academia and Mob Psycho 100. No Straight Roads is a co-op action game released in 2020 by an indie studio based in Malaysia, Metronomic. It's about a world where musical power can be converted into electricity. We follow Mayday and Zoot as they attempt to be a part of NSR, which is the main governing body in the city. Following their prompt rejection, they rebel against their EDM overlords using the power of rock music. It's a cute little game made for you to take a friend along with you to explore the wacky world of colorful characters, and vibe with its dynamic music that changes based on who's winning the various boss fights.
Music sebenar.
Real music? Kau betul nak buat hal kat sini? Sekarang?
Ui, kau selalu macam tu. Angry only. Aku lupa birthday kau, you angry. Tak jawab message kau, you angry. Aku jual drum set kau, you angry. Jangan macam tu lah.
Stop it, West. You're disrupting our music revolution, man.
Now it's time to talk about what I feel like is the crowning achievement of grind fiction as a genre. Team Reptile's Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk was released in 2023 on modern consoles. Before this, Team Reptile had worked on the Looove series of games, which had utilized the cel shading effects seen in Jet Set Radio before it. Looove was more of a fighting game with a grind fiction coat of paint over it, while Bomb Rush Cyberpunk is more of a spiritual successor to JSR. Bomb Rush has his play as Red, a mysterious character with a robotic head as he joins the Bomb Rush crew, another gang of graffiti artists called Writers, as they ride through New Amsterdam, getting into turf wars with other gangs to go all city, and hopefully understand the secrets of Red's origin. In terms of gameplay, it takes a semi-open world exploration and simple tricking of JSRF, and some of the brighter colors of the original Jet Set Radio game, and modernizes them for a new audience. Bomb Rush adds both skateboarding and BMX to the mix, which adds a bit of freshness to the gameplay. Musically, Bomb Rush takes a lot from the same genres that JSR did, but there's a lot of deeper cuts as a majority of the soundtrack isn't just one person this time. From the electro-funk house party vibes of Leopard da Vinci to the jazz hop bangers of Sky Blue and Klaus Wien, this soundtrack has something for everyone. And most importantly, Team Reptile was able to get Hideki Naganuma himself to make 3 tracks for the game. Imagine being able to bring one of the people who inspired you the most to collaborate with you on a project. That's literally the coolest thing ever. By definition, like, come on. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk feels like a love letter to grind fiction as a genre. Every single second really oozes with detail. The graffiti designs were picked by a contest, allowing the community to make their mark on the game. There's an emphasis on artists promoting artists, with them coming together to share their love of music, games, and art with the player. It's amazing. And at the core, I feel like that's what grind fiction is. Being yourself in the most authentic way and connecting with others to do the same thing. Compared to other pieces of media in the genre, most of them just have the art style, the music, or the theming without really being referential to one another. Bomb Rush stands out to me because it takes its influences strictly from another game and expands it into talking about the genre as a whole, in a way that feels completely genuine. It's not just throwing out the buzzwords at you, it shows that they actually care about what they're talking about. Grind fiction is very special because of the way it emphasizes connection. In all of the different media we've talked about today, there's a common theme of people grouping up. Everyone's always forming some type of gang, a band, or just some group of friends to indulge in a hobby with. And if you're in The World Ends with You, that hobby is trying not to die. Looking at the influences of grind fiction with the combination of Japanese fashion and settings with the 90s extreme sports and American street culture, grind fiction itself is all about bringing people together from diverse backgrounds and sharing things with one another. And that sentiment gets echoed and sent back. And with games like BRC, which has a community-driven soundtrack, and a rich modding community allowing for people to create custom characters, maps, and even tweak the gameplay, as long as there are creative people around, the game will literally never die. It's just so sad that grind fiction doesn't have the mainstream appeal that it should. Jet Set Radio had a Steam port that got taken down in 2024, leaving no official way, barring the PS Vita version, to play the game. And Jet Set Radio Future has never been reported or remastered to anything. Some people believe that this is due to licensing issues with the soundtrack, but the port of the first game already had them take songs out or alter them. That isn't a good excuse. Furthermore, Jet Set Radio 3 has been planned and cancelled at least twice now, and we finally got a sequel announced in 2023 along with several other classic Sega games like the Shinobi series. But we haven't heard anything about that one since, while games like Shinobi already had their release. All we can do is wait. But at the very least, we have indie dev teams like Team Reptile and D-Cell keeping grind fiction alive through their releases. Team Reptile especially already has a new project in the works. They're doing a sequel or potentially a prequel to Bomb Rush Cyberpunk just called Hyperpunk, and we've already seen gameplay. It looks very, very promising, but only time can tell. This is Nero signing off, and always remember to express yourself. Thank you.
Monsters, taking up, take it upset, 'cause I was in all the back, the moves of the